When you think of CG in anime, you probably think of this, or this, or this. When I think of CG in anime, I think of this. This is Land of the Lustrous, or as it's referred to in Japanese, Houseki no Kuni. A full CG anime released in 2017 by Studio Orange, the same studio behind Beastars. It's a 12-episode anime based on the manga of the same name, which is still ongoing, though it's been on hiatus for a year now. The premise behind Land of the Lustrous is one that's really unique. It's unlike anything I've seen done before in anime or any other medium when you think about it. Set in a world where the Earth was struck by meteors 6 different times, ultimately wiping out humanity and bringing forth new life forms. First we have the gems, which are life forms made of, well, gems. Since they're made of rocks, they don't really have internal organs, they're genderless and have no real reason to eat and pretty much live forever. The cool thing about these gems is that they're made up of tiny microorganisms called inclusions that hold all their memories. Remember that, because that will be super important later on in the story. Next we have the Lunarians, which are the antagonists of this story. They're ghost-like space aliens that come from the moon, with the sole objective of harvesting the gem people to turn them into jewelry, which is as messed up as it sounds. There's a lot about them surrounded in mystery that we learn about it as the story goes on, just not a lot in this one anime season. Then we have the, let's call them slug people. But we don't get to know too much about them, so we're just going to not talk about them for now. Land of the Lustrous follows the lives of the gems, specifically this adorable little bundle of joy, phos for the lights. Phos for the lights? Plus for the lights? This is Phos. She's the youngest and weakest gem in the bunch. Gems are ranked by hardness on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the hardest, which goes to gems like diamond and quartz. Phos on the other hand only has a hardness of 3.5, which, while not technically the weakest gem, that's going to Cinnabar, who's a 2, Phos is treated as the weakest due to how often she cracks and falls apart. Phos, along with all the other 20-something gems, go about living their lives trying to sort out whatever internal and interpersonal struggles they go through, all the while trying not to be harvested by the Lunarians. But here's the thing about Phos. While other gems have roles such as patrolling, gathering, and fighting off Lunarians, Phos on the other hand doesn't have any, due to 2 factors, one being how weak she is, and the other being how fond the Lunarians are of Phos due to her gem glow. So this leaves Phos with an intense desire to want to be useful to the others and their sensei, the strongest gem, who's been raising all the other gems for centuries. But while Phos is the main character, we also get chances to see the other gems in action, getting to see their personalities, mindsets, and internal struggles and relationships. The other gems each get a moment to shine as they are given adequate screen time. No gem feels like they've been around more than they need to be, and it doesn't feel like the anime is trying to push that one character into the audience's eye. The character writing is pretty rock solid all across the board. Each gem manages to remain consistent with their personalities as the anime goes on. Some gems express or hide their insecurities, and while they get a good pep talk from someone else, those insecurities don't just up and disappear and continue to show up in little bits as the series goes on, and in some cases gets used against them for all sorts of emotional manipulation. Then there's the character development some of the gems go through, especially Phos. The way it's written completely goes against a lot of the usual character tropes and developments we've gotten used to, with Phos being the epitome of that. This is Phos at the start of the series, and this is Phos at the end of the anime season. Remember how a while back I said that the gems are made of tons of microorganisms called inclusions that hold their memories? Yeah, well, that's a huge plot point, as while the gems can be broken, they don't really die and can always be put back together. Their bodies hold their personalities, so if some parts of them get lost permanently, whatever memories and personalities stored in those parts get lost too. This plays a huge role in the development of Phos. As the story goes on, Phos loses several parts of her body that in turn leads to Phos going through changes. Now, I don't want to spoil how exactly it turns out, but let's just say things get depressing for just about everyone. Putting the manga aside, the anime itself is such an amazing adaptation of the source material. It's just visually stunning to watch. It's the first anime I'm glad got made in CGI, especially by Studio Orange, because I don't think traditional 2D animation would have done this anime justice. The way the character models look, the way their gem hair glisters in the sunlight and leaves little lighting effects on their shoulders, the way how fluidly they move, and the way they seamlessly blend 2D with CG in some scenes just comes together perfectly. In most anime, we see them try to blend CG with 2D and it's super noticeable and jarring, but in the land of Lustrous, they do the exact opposite and you can almost never notice this. That's just how good it is. Then there's the framing. The way scenes are framed are just appealing to look at. There's just a sense of symmetry to them. No matter what shot is on screen, it leaves a brief, strong impression on you. You could literally take any scene from any episode and use that as a wallpaper, which is all made even better with the music. Not to overhype or anything, but this anime's soundtrack is quite the masterpiece. Being able to invoke all sorts of feeling like calmness during slowed scenes to the excitement of action scenes, and in some cases can fill you with dread as real bad stuff happens. And while I have nothing but high praise for this anime, it does have its shortcomings. The main issue being the pacing. It's not exactly slow or fast paced. The anime takes its time really getting the ball rolling, as everything the anime adapts from the manga all plays into the Land of the Lustrous experience. But for 12 episodes, it doesn't quite tell you what the main objective is. We just join the gems as they're vibing and surviving each day, like an actiony slice of life. Everything we learn in these 12 episodes is just set up to bigger payoffs along the line in the future of the series, some of which are just wild. Lots of mysteries and questions are asked with no real answers, and when it does feel like the anime is about to really get into the meat of the whole thing, it ends. And it's an ending that's done in a way that doesn't really feel like a cliffhanger, but at the same time kind of does. As much as I don't want to admit it, the anime is one of those I'm only here to promote the manga kind of anime. And trust me, after you watch the anime, you'll definitely want to read the manga. With no second season in sight, with the studio currently working on Beastars, the fandom can only hope to dream for a second season. I for one really want to see how some of the more grandiose scenes get adapted into anime. To add salt to injury, the manga has been on hiatus for an entire year now, with no idea when it's coming back. Right at a really major cliffhanger too. So the fandom is left rereading and rewatching until we get some kind of new content to sink our teeth into. And that's it for the video. What are your thoughts on Land of the Lustrous? Let me know in the comments below, and consider dropping a like and subscribing to become extra toasty. This has been your very favorite slice of bread, signing off.